Welcome back to Engaging with Engage. This is the final part of building your own escape room. We highly recommend you view parts 1 and 2 before progressing with this tutorial. David will now take you through the final steps for this tutorial.
Lovely. I'm just going to save my progress there. Okay, so let's set up our incorrect answer. So if the user takes the silver token and drops it in, what should we do? Well, we need another interactive object trigger by name. So since we already have one here, let's just clone the existing one, and then we can repurpose the clone. So I've cloned it there, and just so I don't get confused, I'm going to rename it. So instead of correct, I'll call it wrong. So we know that that is that one. And instead of the gold token, obviously it's the silver, right? That will trigger this one. I'll just save that. And I need to rename my interactive object that's going to trigger it. I need to rename that one silver as well. So this is a really handy mechanic. I mean, you could use this for a key to open a door, or like the correct piece to be put into a puzzle or something like that. So it's really handy, this functionality. Okay, so I've got the wrong answer. So if I put in the wrong answer, I want it to skip to this time here. So this is the section that's wrong answer. So that starts from 12 seconds or 12 minutes. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to do another skip to. And this time I'm going to set the time to 12 minutes. Actually, I'm going to put it 12 minutes and 1 second, just so we have a margin of error. Okay, brilliant. So what do we want to happen when you skip to the wrong time? Well, I would like some, we saw in the example I showed, we're going to play some dramatic music, which is another video clip, and we're going to do a countdown timer to kind of up the tension for the player. And we're also going to make some spikes come out of the wall. So first of all, let's get our video here. So again, we're going to search for URL screen. And I'll use the flat one again. Now this time I don't want the screen to kind of overwhelm the experience. So I'm just going to pop it down there, but I'm going to scale it right down because I don't want it to completely distract people. I just want it to add a little bit of tension, and really the important part is the audio. Okay, good. So I'll just reposition it a little. That could be done better. Okay. There we go. So we can just make it appear in that little section under the text. Now I have a URL prepared for a video clip, and of course you could use a cloud file, video, or whatever source suits you. So I'm going to open my video and I'm going to paste in my countdown timer. Now the countdown timer is exactly 1 minute, so it should go from 12 to 13 minutes. I'll just drag it a little bit longer than that. And to coincide with the dramatic music, there you can see it counting down, I want to have an animation of spikes coming out of the wall. So we have an IFX for that. So let me search in the IFX for wall port. And of course these are public, so you can select them and use them yourself if you want to. And I'll just roughly place it for now. And then I'm going to go to the gizmo and rotate it. Probably lower sensitivity. There we go, it's about the right angle. Brilliant. I'll bring it just a little bit out from the wall. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I'm happy with that position. Now I have another object called spikes, and I want it to be on exactly the same spot. Well, the easiest way to do it is to just clone the object. So I'm going to drag out that a bit. So I'm going to clone the wall ports. And then the second one, I'm going to rename it spikes. But obviously, because it's a clone, it's actually two copies of the same object. The really cool thing about the editor is you can change any object even if it already exists. So this one, which I've called spikes, you can click on effect and it brings you back to this menu, so you can actually change it into anything at all. So I'm going to select here, and there's my wall spikes. Excellent. So we have the two objects placed down. I'm going to save that. And they're perfectly aligned, which is great. And the position there is the final position when they've come completely out of the wall. So what we want to do is keyframe it to coincide with the timer. So let's move to where the timer has got down to 0. So presumably by the time it gets to 0, you're skewered to death. Lovely. And of course it's VR, so no one's going to get hurt. But we'll select the spikes, and I'm going to set a keyframe. So that's the final position. And then we want to go all the way back to the start when they start coming out of the wall. And I'm going to move them back into the wall and set another keyframe. So I'll just turn down sensitivity. There we go. How is that? That's not quite lined up, so I'm going to move them over a little bit. That's better. That's closer to the middle. Yeah, that's all right. And I'm going to set my keyframe. And there we go. So we can move forward and back. So while the timer is counting down, our spikes come out of the wall. Now, we don't want to be too mean to the player. If they really are so flummoxed and confused and they can't get the right answer, let's give them another chance. We'll put a skip 2 and make it go back to the start here. So if you do actually get skewered and you can't get the right answer, we'll be kind. We'll give them a second chance. There we go. So we'll just reset it. So you don't learn anything from completely punishing them. So we'll just go back to the start. So if you do fail completely, we'll bring it back to the start to take off the pressure and let them have another go. So that's back to 10 minutes. So this skip 2, I'm going to set back to 10 minutes. And there we go. As well as that, actually, let's make it a little easier. So first of all, the challenge part here, we want this to be a loop as well. So I'm going to put in another skip 2 here to make this part a constant loop. And then you'll only jump into wrong answer if you put in the wrong token. So let's do another one. Skip 2. And that's it. And it's important that the skip 2 doesn't overlap the wrong answer part. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to snap to the timeline there. There we go. So we know that it's not accidentally going into the next section, because it would cause it to keep looping forever if it went into the next section. And we want this skip 2 to go back to approximately 10 minutes. So we'll put 10 minutes and 3 seconds, just so it's inside the same loop. But let's make it a bit easier. So if they've taken the silver and they've dropped it in and they got the answer wrong, we really don't need to display the silver after this point. So let's bring the silver back. So that means if you've accidentally triggered that, there's only one token left, and that makes it a bit easier for the user. I think we've nearly got all of our interactions done. I think we want the wall ports to stay visible for the whole period of time. So let's adjust the time on this one so it's there from 00 all the way up to 25 minutes. And then we only have to do the win. There we go. Great. Now all we need, and in fact we don't want the spikes to be visible while you're in the win state. That wouldn't be much of a win if you got spiked. So we're gonna bring these back a little bit. I'll bring this back to here, and that's our spikes IFX. I'm gonna bring that back as well. So the spikes should disappear when you win. Good. Okay, so what happens when you win? Well, we'll give everyone a bit of applause. So let's type applause. And there's a nice cheesy applause sound effect. Well done. And we could give them a message to tell them that they got the correct answer. So let's have a look. There's this auto-fit text panel. Let's duplicate that or clone it. And then we're going to move this up here and we can change the message that's on it. So I'll skip to the start of that, snap it in. And we can change it to a congratulations message. Select that and go congratulations. Correct. So there we go. Excellent. So when you've got the correct answer, it goes congratulations. Correct. Now, obviously, the door has been open the whole time. There's nothing blocking it. So we need to put in a kind of Indiana Jones style door. To do that, I'm going to jump back to the very start. And I'm going to load an IFX, and we're going to use one more wall section. So stone wall. There we go, just need to position it. There. And actually, it's a bit wonky. I'll just reposition it. There's my stone wall. Select, and I go in there, and I'm going to reset the rotation. Perfect, so it's nice and square now. Now, we want to make sure that you can't walk through the wall, so again, we'll go in and we'll turn on our colliders to make it solid. And we want this to be present the whole time, so I'm going to make it go all the way out to 25 minutes. And great, so that's blocking our way. So when you come into the room at the start, it'll be blocked off nicely. And I want to make sure that when we get the correct answer, so let's skip to that, well, maybe just 1 second later. Yeah, 14, yeah, that's just a few seconds later. We want to do keyframes of the door opening for us. So let's go select the stone wall, go keyframe, and then a few seconds is enough. Yeah. Go to Gizmo. And move the wall up. Set our keyframe. So I think we've done all our logic now. That's it. You're set up, you're ready to go, and we've got all of our interaction zones and all of our information there. And of course, you can always keep polishing it, adding more sound effects. You could even add in something like a recording, and in fact, we might do that in a later lesson. Bring in some avatar recordings to provide even more interaction. But there we go. I hope that was useful, and I really look forward to seeing what you build for your students on the platform. Thank you very much, and see you now.
That's the end of this escape room tutorial. All that is left to do now is to test your experience file, which is located under the Experiences tab in the In-Session menu. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. More tutorials can be found on our website.